I remember the first time I ever discovered stand-up comedy, I was 7. And I had said fuck for the first time in front of my parents. And my father, instead of beating the shit out of me like he probably should have done, sat me down. He said, "You're old enough to say it, you're old enough to watch this." And he made me watch George Carlin's Carnegie Hall special. And it was so weird because I was a kid, and this was like when MC Hammer was big, and New Kids on the Block were a thing. So like, my idea of entertainment was singing, dancing, real flashy stuff. And this is the first time I've ever seen somebody just standing on stage, granted the greenest sweater I've ever seen in my life, just talking to a microphone. There was no singing, there was no dancing, there was no flair. It was just a dude and a mic and an audience full, like just a room full of people hanging on his every word. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And like, I would love, because I knew at that age, I knew I couldn't sing or dance at 7. I knew my limitations. And so that was like the first time I saw that, and I've been a fan of stand-up comedy ever since. And that was kind of when I was like, this is what I want to do. I would love to be able to do that at some point. So I've got a funny story. I've done stand-up comedy for the first time twice. The first time I did stand-up comedy, I was in Baghdad, Iraq. Actually, I was in the Army in 2003, and I was part of 3rd Infantry Division, so we were part of that invading force. And about December of '03, there was this talent show we had at the camp, and it was just to take our mind off the stuff, some MWR stuff. And I got voluntold to do stand-up comedy because I was kind of like the funny guy in the unit. Yeah, I remember my sergeant was this like Italian dude from Brooklyn who kind of looked like a real muscular Joe Pesci. And he's just leaning up on this desk, he's looking at me, scary as all shit. He's like, "Alvarez, do you think you're funny?" I was like, "No, son, I've never been funny a day in my life, hell no." And he told me, he's like, "Look, I think you're funny, everybody else thinks you're funny. I want you to go to this talent show tomorrow, you're gonna do stand-up comedy." And I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how to do stand-up comedy. So what had happened was I had just got this Carlos Mencia album through Amazon the day before. No one else had this. I know no one else had heard these jokes before. So I memorized the funniest 5 minutes from it and delivered it in front of a room of about 250 soldiers and slaughtered. I killed, and it was the best feeling. I was like, holy crap, is this what women in bars feel like all the time? This is amazing. And so that's when I knew, like, this is definitely what I want to do. And it was about, I was 20 then. I was 25 the first time I did stand-up legit. I was in Miami. It was at John Martin's Irish Pub in Coral Gables. And I had worked on this set for about 4 or 5 months. I was working with somebody that had already been in the scene. And I finally went up and I delivered, and it was great. I knew my beats, I knew my punches, and it was a great set. I killed again. And I was like, all right, this is great. This is exactly what I want to do. And it's just that feeling of like instant acceptance. Like people instantly liked me. Something that most of my life I had kind of struggled with getting other people to like me. I was always too white for the neighborhood I grew up in because I'm only half Hispanic. And when you're growing up in Miami, that's a hard thing. So people hear you're half American, you automatically you don't fit in. And then I go to my mom's side of the family in Georgia, and I'm half Hispanic, so there I don't fit in. So I always felt like I was struggling to get people to like me, and that, at that point, doing my own material that time, and having people laugh and come up to me and say, "Man, that was awesome, that was amazing, that you were hilarious," that was like the best feeling. Second only to my son being born was the best feeling I've ever had, man. And I've just it's like chasing the dragon on heroin. I've just been chasing that feeling every time I go on now. Growing up, definitely George Carlin's Carnegie Hall special inspired me to even do it. I love Bill Burr's, not the I can't remember the name of the special for the life of me. You put me on the spot. But I like Bill Burr. Kyle Kinane, Whiskey Icarus, I love. Eddie Murphy, both of them, Raw and Delirious, I love. I grew up on Richard Pryor, I feel like. Sam Kinison, I watched a lot growing up too. I want to say the comics I probably had the most influence on me were probably Greg Giraldo, because he was the first Hispanic, like Latino comic I saw that didn't base his entire material off of being Latino. You know, because when I first saw him, it was like George Lopez, Carlos Mencia were like huge. And it was like, you know, Latinos are like this, and white people do this, and you know, it was funny. I related because I'm Latino and white, but it wasn't my style. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So the first time I saw Greg Giraldo, and I found out not only was he Latino, but he's also Colombian. Yeah, I'm Colombian, so I was like, wow, this is exactly my cup of tea. This is exactly the kind of stuff I want to do, and he's Colombian doing it. So there's definitely a way. Him and then Greer Barnes was another one I saw, and those two, and I actually had the opportunity to meet both of them. Luckily, I got to meet Greg Giraldo before he died, and when I was living in New York, I got to meet and hang out with Greer Barnes a couple times. It was really cool, gave me some really good advice, and yeah, those two are probably the two that influenced me more than anything. Dude, I would love to hang out with Kyle Kinane. Yeah, I would just love to hang out with Kyle Kinane just for like a week. Just go on the road with him for a week and be okay. Definitely Greg Giraldo, without a doubt. I always liked Anthony Jeselnik. I liked his stuff on the roast. Barack Obama, I know he's not a comedian, but he's definitely the funniest president we've ever had. I think he'd throw some major shade. That's three, right? All right, that's Giraldo, Jeselnik, Barack Obama, Patrice O'Neal, and I'd say Chappelle. Yeah. Oh no, Don Rickles. Don Rickles, like the original. Yeah, I want Don Rickles roast to me. Absolutely. Chappelle's show was far and away like one of the greatest things you'll ever see on TV. And I loved that. I loved everything that came up. You know, I always grew up on Saturday Night Live. I loved Louis Anderson had a cartoon when I was a kid, Life with Louis, and I loved that. I remember it because I'd been a fan of his a little bit when I was that age. I'd watched some of his stand-up stuff, and it was the same. You know, it was the first time I'd actually seen somebody's material put into a sitcom TV show. And it was cool to me. It was the first time I'd ever seen that. You know, I knew Seinfeld was out, but I didn't realize that's what Seinfeld was too. So that was it. Louis, I love Louis. I think that show's phenomenal. And Seinfeld, yeah. I love How High. It's not really comedians, it's two rappers, but I just love. I don't know. There's something about it that I like watching. Life is probably one of my favorite comedy movies to watch. I'm more into cult movies like Pulp Fiction and The Princess Bride are always on my rotation on Netflix. They're always on the queue when they're available. Anything with Eddie Murphy, really. Oh, Coming to America. Coming to America is what my family used to sit down and watch when we were kids growing up. Coming to America, my dad had it on VHS. Whenever he popped that in, the whole family was sitting down and watching it. So yeah, definitely that one. I want to do writing. I want to do more writing. Like, you know, I know it's kind of cliche. It's hacky to say, oh, I want to write for Saturday Night Live. I would love to write for Saturday Night Live. It's a hell of a work ethic. You know, you live on the couch in an office. From what I've seen and from what I've heard from people that do it, but I would just love to get into more writing. I would love to be able to sell a script, and that's probably my end game, and just, you know, live off of royalties for the rest of my life. Man, I kind of just live it day by day. 5 years, I just hope I'm still doing it. I just want people to have a good time, man. You know what I mean? It went from I want people to like me to I just want people to have fun. You know, if I can help, you know, a dude, if there's a dude on a first date with some chick and I helped make the date, you know, and I helped him get laid at the end of the night, you know, I'm happy for it. You know, happy I can help you, dude. If people were walking away and they had a good time and they enjoyed themselves, that's really all I'm in it for. Twitter at Jay the Funny One, Facebook J.Alvarez. I'm all over the place on like Instagram and stuff too. J Alvarez established 1983. All right, I'm Jay Alvarez. Check us out on QTPie.com, man. Appreciate the love.